Hello everyone, this is Day Trader Matt with businesswithtrading.com doing a market recap for Friday the 9th of March. And today we had the markets gap up a little bit, only to come down and close them real quick and begin its march higher. Today we had actually two trades. Messed up a little bit there. Alright, we actually had two trades. Both of them were successful. Maximum profit potential we were working in was 1.5 points or 6 ticks, and our actual trades, entries, and exits called out in real time was 1.5 points or 6 ticks. First trade, we actually grabbed a long down here and able to ride that up a little bit, taking a little profit on the way up, and then it came down and stopped us out on the remainder. And then we kind of just watched it. We watched price come down here and move higher, and we actually watched it come all the way up, bounce around a little bit, and we actually grabbed a long over here, and we were watching it bounce around, and it never came up to our first target, and we ended up just taking it off over in this area for a 1/4 point, just because it was bouncing, but it was never hitting where we wanted it to hit. So we ended up just taking it off, and you see it actually did come down, and it stayed down. So it was a good trade. We I was thinking price was going to do something different. We were able to get out without any harm done. Taking a 1/4 point with two contracts, we were able to actually have 1/2 point on that trade. But sometimes it happens like that, and a lot of times I will go with what I'm thinking is going to happen, and it goes to show one thing: why trading can't be automatic. You have to have your intuition and be able to look at things and say, hey, the market's not doing what I want it to do, I'm going to get out. And that's what happened. So anyway, ended up with 1.5 points. Not that bad of a day. I'd like to encourage everyone to stop by and check out the website, www.businesswithtrading.com. Every day we focus on the S&P 500 futures market. It's my favorite market to trade, and I'm definitely passionate about it. I have a lot of fun with it, and our members share the same fun and passion that I do, which definitely makes it pretty cool. We get to talk trading, talk about what we're looking at, or I get to talk about what I'm looking at, and of course call out my entries and exits in real time. I've been getting a few questions about what I call out in the room. Apparently there are other rooms that they don't really call things out in real time. They call things out when they call things out and no one else has a chance to enter or exit. What I do in the room, I talk about levels that I'm looking at before price gets to them, so that way everybody is on the same page. Everybody knows, hey, he's looking at this area right here. Say for example, I'm looking at, price is coming up here, and it comes down here, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking to, or actually over here, hey, I'm looking for this area here to get long. It comes down a little bit, and then we can actually get into that position, because price came down and hit it, and then it goes up, and everybody knows my targets. So it makes it a lot easier. My trading is definitely transparent. I wouldn't have been around for over a year if it wasn't. But I just wanted to touch on that. I've gotten a lot of emails for that, so figure might as well talk in the video, because if people are going to email me, I'm pretty sure they're going to watch videos as well. If not, I'm going to email all of them back individually anyway. So, but if you're watching this and you had that question, hopefully that answers it. If not, upper right hand side of the website I have a contact form. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There's only the question that hasn't been asked. And I know some people say that and they do treat questions as dumb, but I actually remember when I was a new trader. I was blessed. I have a very good memory. I remember when I was a kid doing stupid things, 4 or 5 years old, stuff like that. But I remember when I was a new trader, and some of the questions that I asked, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was, I don't remember all my questions actually, but I'm pretty sure that some of the people that I asked questions to, and I know that the way they reacted to me, it's like, hey, that's a stupid question, and a lot of people, they get into a certain routine and they don't like to deter from it, and I can understand that, and I don't want to say any question is stupid, because if you don't know the answer, it's not a stupid question. No, if you do know the answer and you're being sarcastic about it, that's a totally different thing. But people don't do that unless you're in person, and you can kind of tell, because I like to be sarcastic and fun sometimes, in person. In email, it's, you can't really do that. Just like if you're texting somebody or tweeting somebody, it's hard to put that emotion in. But there's no such thing as a dumb question. So take advantage of the contact form. Ask questions. If you have feedback, just you don't like my website, anything. I enjoy reading email. And anything negative, I view it as constructive criticism. That's just the way that I am. I don't really take anything to heart. You don't like the colors, that's fine. You don't like them. Everybody's different. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And with that said, I'm going to go into next week's news, talk about what I'm looking at before this video ends up being 50 minutes long. Okay, everyone, and going into Monday, our first batch of news, or our only news actually, comes in at 2 o'clock. The federal budget balance. They're looking for negative 229.3 billion. Prior reading was negative 27.4 billion. Tuesday, first batch of news comes in at 8:30 in the morning. Core retail sales month over month, looking for 0.8%. Prior reading was 0.7. Also, retail sales month over month, looking for 1.1%. Prior reading was 0.4%. 10 o'clock, business inventories, looking for 0.5%. Prior reading was 0.4. Also at 10, IBD tip economic optimism number, looking for 53.2. Prior reading was 49.4. And at 2:15, the FOMC statement is going to come out. It's going to be very interesting to see what they say, since we've had better jobs numbers recently. And also at 2:15, the federal funds rate, which I expect them to keep low, even though a lot of people are starting to price in sooner than expected interest rate hikes. But they weren't expecting any until the end of 2014, so now they're starting to bring it forward a little bit more. Now going into Wednesday, Wednesday morning, current account looking for negative 114 billion. Prior reading was negative 110. Import prices looking for 0.6% versus prior of 0.3. At 10 o'clock, Bernanke's going to speak, so that will be pretty interesting. And then at 10:30, crude oil inventories looking for 0.8 million. And let's go into Thursday. Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, big news. We have PPI. PPI looking for 0.5%. Prior was 0.1. And unemployment claims. Unemployment claims looking for 357. Prior reading was 362,000. 8:30 core PPI looking for 0.2% versus 0.4. And 8:30 Empire State Manufacturing Index looking for 17.6 versus 19.5. The big numbers, obviously PPI unemployment, and then at 9 o'clock we have tick long-term purchases looking for 29.3 versus a 17.9, and then the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index looking for 11.8 versus 10.2. And then at 10:30 we do have natural gas storage. Last reading was negative 80 billion. And then on Friday we have core CPI, pretty large number, looking for 0.2%, and prior was in line. 8:30 we have CPI looking for 0.4% with a prior of 0.2. 9:15 capacity utilization rate looking for 78.9 versus a 78.5. Industrial production 0.4% we're looking for, flat was the prior. And then at 9:55 University of Michigan consumer sentiment looking for 75.7, prior was 75.3. And preliminary University of Michigan inflation expectations looking for 3.3%. And that's what we're looking at for next week. So with that said, everybody, hope you have an awesome weekend, and I'll see everyone Monday morning. Thanks.